Hi everyone. So here is another tip of the week, and I'm going to try to do a few of them on this theme of being organized. So this is the first part, and I thought of that I should give students some tips on this because it's something that a lot of people struggle with. It's something that I saw in the results of the questionnaire. People have concerns about being organized, and I want to let you know that you're not alone, all right? And this is not just a student thing. Everybody struggles with this, and it seems like it's getting worse with our world, being we're so overloaded with information all the time. It can be hard to stay organized. So this week, I'm going to talk specifically about sorting out different class management systems. And this is an issue even, outside of pandemic times. I realize that it can be difficult. One thing that students complain to me a lot about is that it's hard to keep it all straight. You have 7, sometimes even 8 different courses that you're taking in one semester, and all with different teachers, and we all use different strategies. And again, not just during the pandemic, but it feels like it's not somehow worse during the pandemic, since pretty much everything is online for most courses. So we use different strategies just overall for how we organize our stuff, different platforms for distributing information, different ways of marking, and so on and so forth. So and we know, that it's not easy to keep everything straight in your head, and we can sound impatient sometimes, because it's as annoying as it is for you, it's also annoying for us when we put a lot of effort into sending information out there, but instead of looking for it, students just write to us right away and want us to hold their hands for every little thing. And so we can get a little impatient sometimes. I try to be compassionate and remember that it's difficult, but here I figured I could share a life skill that can help you, both for this particular situation and in all kinds of situations. And I also want to point out that it's not easy for us either. We have 3 or 4 different groups of students depending on which department we teach in and how many hours each course is per week. We can have 3 or 4 different groups of students, and each group has its own dynamic. During a regular semester when we're in class, we can have the same course that we're teaching to 2 different groups, but we're going at different speeds because one group of students asks more question than the other, and we have to adapt and keep track of all that. We have, between 25 and 30, I put 30, but sometimes it's even 40 students. So I'm going to fix that because it can go up to 40, even 45. And okay, we're all different. Myself and many of my closest peers that I work with, we like to learn our students' names, and we like to find out what different students need and how we can support them better. So it's a lot to keep track of for all of us, all right? So we struggle in similar ways, and it's not always easy for us to stay organized either. So fortunately, you don't have to keep this all in your head. Nobody does, right? So sometimes we get trapped in this thing of trying to just keep everything in our heads, and we get frustrated that we can't, but it's impossible, right? But you can create a system for yourself that is not complicated at all. It's maybe an investment of maybe a half hour, 45 minutes of your time at the beginning of each semester, and it's never too late. You can start doing this now. And so the idea behind the system is that you bring all the information, basic information for all your courses in one place. So if you're like, okay, I have to find information. I know I have assignments due both in my humanities class and my anthropology class, but I don't remember who uses what. I don't remember where to look. I'm just going to send my teachers a Myo. Well, don't do that. We already gave you all the information, okay? So Myos are from when you're really confused about something, you looked at it, you tried to figure it out, and you can't figure it out on your own. It's not for just asking us for things that we already told you. So the first thing you do when you're confused is you look at the information you gathered, and that way, also it will reduce anxiety, because if you're ready to get to work but you don't know where to look for the work, and you write your teacher, well, we don't live on Mayo, and so it might take a day or even 2 days if we're overwhelmed to get back to you, and in the meantime you're not getting your stuff done. So wouldn't it be great to just be autonomous and be able to find what you need so you can work on your own schedule and not have to wait for us to respond to you? So So here's the idea: is to create like these I'm calling them informational pages. You can call them what you want, but it's basically a page on which you group together important information related to each course. So you have one page ish per course, and there are different ways of doing it, but here's the kind of information you're going to want to bring together for each course. So your teacher's name, their office hours, and where their office is. So, I think some people are still working on campus, especially when there are labs and stuff, but now we're online. But, in regular times when we go back to campus after the pandemic, well, what's their office room number? Or right now we're online, so do they use Teams? Do they use Zoom? And if this document is electronic, you can even put the link for their meeting room, for their office, their virtual office, or whatever it is. What are some quirks that may impact how you relate to them? And I put this there because those of you who've gotten to know me know that I hate "sir," right? And when I insist on it, people complain, yeah, but we have 7 teachers and they all have a different preference. Well, if you have a list that you can look at, if you do have to write to them, then you'll know because you have your list in front of them. So do they want to be called Dr. So-and-so or by their first name? Also, things like, do they have a policy? Not every teacher says this, right? But some of us will come out and say, well, I'll respond within 24 hours during weekdays, but I don't look at my Myos after 6 p.m. and on weekends, right? Some of your teachers might have said things like that, and if they did, that's the kind of information you would put on this page. What class management system do they use? So there are 3 main ones, right? Some of your teachers use Leia, some might use Teams, some might use Moodle. I know some of my colleagues use Slack. I considered using Discord because a lot of you are already on there, but it was too late to get that going and to come up with tutorials on how to use it for those who don't. But anyway, what platform is your teacher using? Is this course synchronous or asynchronous, or even blended with some in-person classes? Because again, I know, like, if you're taking some of these more science-y courses, maybe that's a situation for some of them. If there are online meetings, what platform does the teacher use? So do they use Zoom through Leia? Do they use Teams? Do they use Slack or some other messenger like Jitsi? What is the schedule, if applicable? Right? So for example, this is where you would put, so Jackie's course is asynchronous, but there are optional sessions on, the second course of the week. Depending on what course you're in with me, that may vary. You would write that down, and that you need to go to 5 of these, right? So, where does your teacher store important documents? So, as you've, might have noticed right now, I use distributed documents on Leia for all documents that are not assignments, right? Any information that you need. And if you had this, instead of asking me, well, I don't remember what to do for this thing, how do the quizzes work? If you had a thing like this, you could just go, okay, anthropology, okay, this is where Jackie puts everything. I'm going to go look there for the information that I need. Maybe some other teachers use the Teams and put things in folders in Teams. I think Moodle might have some storage capacity as well. I'm not sure. I've never used it. Where does your teacher distribute assignments? I use assignments in Dropbox and Leia. Some of your teachers might do it all in Moodle or Teams. Where does your teacher want you to submit assignments? And here, be careful, because depending on the type of assignment, even in one course, it can change. So in my courses, in my intro, there are the quizzes in one spot, and then other kinds of assignments get submitted through Leia, right? So that you want to avoid generalizing, but it's still good to kind of know where to look. Where does your teacher return assignments to you? Are they going to put it back up through Leia? If it's in assignments in Dropbox, are they going to email it to you? Are they going to, anything else that, like, there are things I probably haven't thought of that from a student point of view, maybe it's things you talk about with each other, right? Is this teacher a hard marker? Or what do they look for? What do they nitpick on? Like, when you hear from students who've had a teacher before, I know those are the kinds of questions you ask each other. Is this teacher super picky about spelling and grammar? Is this teacher picky about this other thing? And what are these little quirks that you, as a student, you can include that. It's your thing. We're not going to come and look at it. It's certainly none of our business, but it's just, these are things, anything that you think will help you know how to handle this particular situation in this course. And this is the kind of thing that's transferable to many areas of life. So in your work, when you have, if you have a job where you have to kind of manage different files or something, whatever, clubs, if you're involved in clubs, and you're responsible for organizing activities and things like that, having this kind of system where you have a section of a notebook or something that's devoted to each thing. I do that. I showed this in another video. I have my notebook system. It's divided, and I have one thing per course, and I have another section for special projects, and I just keep everything for each thing together. So if I'm like, oh, okay, what did I assign my students in that course? I'll go look, and I have it all by date, and so I can find it easily without having to break my head over it. Personal projects. So if you're the creative type or you're entrepreneurial and you're starting projects, being organized in some way is going to help you. Household management even, right? So just, a lot of you are still living with your parents, so maybe you're not having to deal with things like taxes and insurance claims and all this sort of stuff, but you will eventually. So just continuing here, we're going to end here, just a couple of alternatives of how to do this. So concretely, what can this look like? Well, there are two main categories. If you're like me and you still like having pen and paper, because it's very versatile and I don't need to turn on my computer if it's off. If I'm sick of staring at a screen all day, I don't have to come and stare at a screen for another few minutes while I look for my stuff, at least not right away. And so here it depends on you. If you have like a notebook, I know a lot of students have a notebook per course. So if that's the case, you can make sure that first page or the inside cover is your informational page with all that information that we just talked about. If you have one binder or notebook that has all your courses in it and you have a section per course, well, then you can have that page at the beginning of the section. So in your anthropology section, at the beginning, you'd have your informational page for anthropology, and same thing for all your other subjects. Or if you prefer, if you have a binder that has all your stuff for all your courses in it, you can have one small section at the beginning that's just like basic information, and you have all your informational pages for all your courses together. You can experiment and try different ways and see what works for you. And then you get to know, well, where's my reflex going to be to go and see, right? I know for me it would work well if it was per section. So I have a question about my geography course. I'm going to go look at my geography section. If you prefer electronic, that's fine, that's valid. Again, different options for you here, and you can experiment. If you want, you could have one Word document for all your, but then of course you have to scroll, right? Or you can use the search function and find, say, geography or math. You can have one document per course, so you have one, anthropology, basic information, or whatever you want to call it. Click on it, everything's there, which means that if you have questions about multiple courses, you have multiple documents. Should be fine. You can use Google Docs or any kind of documents, right? Remember, Google is not private, so just avoid having any personal information in a Google document. Very important. Finally, you can use a spreadsheet, so either Excel or Google Sheets, again, remembering the privacy issues around Google. And here, that can be a nice way for those of you who are comfortable with spreadsheets, is that you can have, one column per course and one item from the list of types of information per row. And here's a tip: you can freeze the top row to be able to scroll down and still see what course you're looking at. And I'm going to show you, I kind of started to create a little example here. I'll move out of the way here. So this button won't get out of the way, unfortunately, but so what I did here is, top I have all my different subjects. I didn't do the whole, this is just an example, right? You might have more columns here, so anthropology, geography, humanities, math, and here for each one I have teachers. So I have the name of my teacher, so if you have trouble remembering names, you have it all there, and these are made up. I'm not assuming any of you have all these teachers. These are just people that I know, all right? Office hours, and here are mine. Here, again, I'm making these up. Please don't assume Miriam Mansour has office hours at these times. I left these blank, but you get the idea, right? Office location, so Zoom link, and if you don't want to copy the link here, you could, because it's electronic. You could just copy it in here, or you can. Oh, Jackie keeps the link on top of distributed documents, so I know to go look there if I want to go to his office. Teams, and here maybe Christian is maintaining office hours on campus because he has some on-campus courses. I'm just making this up, remember. How to address them. Okay, so again, Jackie, Miriam, I think goes on a first name basis. I'm not sure. I know my colleague Allison likes her PhD to be recognized. I don't know about Christian. I'm making this up. Contact policy. So, maybe I said somewhere, I might have said this informally, I tend to reply within 24 hours on weekdays. This is bit small, but you can adjust this, and you would just kind of continue, and you would add whatever items are relevant here and fill this out. And this is a nice way to do it because it's all together in one place. So if you do want an electronic thing, you can do this. And I talked about freezing pane. So say if you have, like, it goes down, right? See, when you scroll down, you lose that top row. You can actually freeze, and it's not going to let me do it, but if you can always go to help, or you can Google how to freeze rows or columns in Excel, and it'll show you. But essentially I would highlight, oh, it does work here, okay. I would highlight the second row, I think it is, so you always do the second one, and it's not letting me because that thing is in the way. But just to show you where to go, I click on the one I want frozen, or the one underneath, and then freeze panes, right? And so freeze top row, right? And so here I'm scrolling down, and that stays visible. And you can do it for columns as well. I could freeze this one too. Freeze first column, and then if I scroll across, because I have many courses, it'll keep that there. So anyway, these are a couple of little tips. If you want, I'm willing to sit with people and help you create something like this for yourself. I can even have a little workshop, and during one of our class times, if people are interested in that. Just last thing I want to say is, regardless of the system you use, remember to consult it before shooting off a Myo, because 95% of the Myos that I get, to be honest, the information's already there. And I try to show compassion again with, no, okay, it's confusing, but if everybody had a system like this, it would actually reduce anxiety for you, because again, you would have immediate responses to your questions, you would know where to find the answers on your own, and autonomy is a crucial skill to have for everybody. And it kind of reduces our stress of having to reply to a lot of Myos, and that way it gives us more time and energy to focus on those real points that students are actually confused about, where you're like, I read the thing, but I'm still confused, and then we can talk about those things and be able to give you targeted help. So I hope this is helpful. Again, if you have questions about this, or you want some help in setting this up for yourself, please don't be shy to reach out.